This is the official call to order for the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting of the City of Sebastian, Thursday, May 4th, the year 2023. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. Roll call, please.
Yes. Ms. Matthews?
Present.
Ms. Cottenberg?
Here.
Mr. Carter?
Present.
Ms. LaRusso?
Here.
Mr. Haddix?
Present.
Ms. Battles?
Here.
Ms. Kinchin?
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, announcements for this evening's meeting are that Mr. Lucier is excused from tonight's meeting and he has tendered his resignation effective today. We will thank him for his service to the community and the many volunteer hours he served in this community. Wishing him the best in the future. Alternate member Cindy Giese is also excused from tonight's meeting, and that means that Sherry Matthews, our other alternate, will be voting in Mr. Lucier's place this evening. The first order of business is the approval of the minutes of our last meeting. Have you all had the opportunity to review them? If so, the chair will entertain a motion.
Madam Chairman, I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes of the April 20th, 2023 meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Second. Okay, any additions or corrections? No. Okay, call for a vote, please. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? So be it. Okay. Next order of business this evening is a quasi-judicial public hearing. And,
could you turn it up, please? I can't hear a word you're saying. I can't hear a word. Yeah, it's fine.
I'm sorry?
We can't hear you. Can't hear you.
I have no power to turn it up. Maybe the mic gets closer to you. Try that, maybe? No one has ever accused me of being soft-spoken before, ever. Okay. The next order of business this evening is a quasi-judicial hearing, and we have a specially required process and procedure that we must follow. Before we get into that, I would like to say I am thrilled to pieces to see so many people here, members of the public. And if you came here to express opinions, you are encouraged to do that. We'll be delighted to hear you. We do have a time limit, though, and that is a 5-minute time limit. So you can address the subject, whether you're in favor or opposed, for a period of 5 minutes time, at the end of which we ask you to allow the next person to speak. Okay, so we'll open our quasi-judicial hearing for the evening. Commissioners, have any of you had any ex parte communication? With? No. No? No. Okay. We'll ask our attorney, who is serving us this evening via Zoom, to swear in anyone who will be presenting factual information. If you will be presenting any factual information, please arise and take the oath.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
If I may, could you please ask the attorney to read the title prior to swearing us in this evening?
Okay.
I am so sorry, Louise.
Okay, if our attorney will please read the title.
Yes, I'll read the title. An ordinance of the City of Sebastian, Florida, amending Land Development Code by adding Section 54.5.24A, new zoning district regulations from RM10 relating to medium-density, multiple-family residential uses, amending Land Development Code Section 54.2.6.4 by amending conditional use criteria relating to the RM10 medium-density, multiple-family residential uses, amending Section 54.3.15.2 parking uses, providing for severability and repeal of laws in conflict, providing for codification, providing for scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. And now, anyone who will be giving any factual information, please arise and be sworn in.
Okay, if you could please raise your right hand, and then do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth and the whole truth? Answer by saying, I do.
Thank you. We now invite the applicant or his agent to make a presentation regarding this request.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jonathan Barquette. I'm an attorney with Collins Brown Barquette. We represent the applicant, Sebastian Oaks LLC, on this project. With me tonight is our engineer, Sean Green, and we're here to answer any questions you may have. As you know, this site is already zoned RM8, has been zoned multifamily residential for years and years. The applicant is simply applying to change this to the new RM10 designation. It's important to note that whether or not this amendment is granted, the area will be developed as multifamily residential. I understand from viewing the staff comments and the staff report that traffic is going to be a topic of discussion. It's understandable. My client is happy to address these concerns at the site planning level when we get to that point. Again, we'll address those concerns. We understand that they're valid. However, tonight is just the rezoning from RM8 to RM10. Our engineers did provide a traffic study that shows that the roads will meet the adopted level of service of the standards of the City of Sebastian. And the proposed amendment is otherwise in compliance with the policies of the city as well. So with that, I'm just here to answer any questions you may have about the project.
Thank you. Any questions from any of the members of the committee?
I don't have any.
Thank you.
I'd like to get a clarification by changing the zoning where we'll be allowing 30 more units approximately. Is that what that boils down to?
18 in our case, sir.
I mean?
18 in our case.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Next up, staff presentation, please.
Good evening. Thank you, Chairman and Commissioners. This hearing this evening is for the Land Development Code rezoning amendment for a specific site, Sebastian Oaks LLC on Louisiana Avenue. The applicant, Sebastian Oaks LLC, is requesting a change from RM8, that's residential multifamily, 8 units per acre, to RM10, which is residential medium density multifamily at 10 units per acre. We included the RM10 zoning district ordinance for your review with this packet since it has not been codified. And so we wanted to make sure that the existing members of the commission and the new members had that in front of them as they did this or performed this review. If you recall, as part of our comprehensive plan update, it became apparent that for us to try and attempt to address some of the affordable housing and attainable housing needs throughout the country, it might behoove us to establish another zoning district with a little bit of higher density and smaller units. It is very compatible with our existing RM8 townhome already existing code, so it wasn't that big of a leap. However, it had not been codified yet. We wanted to make sure you had a copy of that. In that same action, that same ordinance, we reduced some of the parking requirements that we have also found to really not be necessary in certain developments, and just really creates more impervious area and stormwater runoff that we're all, again, trying to reduce. So that was the reasoning behind the RM10 zoning district. The applicant, knowing that this was coming forward, requested that we wait on our site plan review, which they submitted a site plan back in 2021, and they stated, well, we'll wait until this new zoning district comes along in order to apply for it. They can, yes, get up to 157 units from the 126 units that they currently have. You are correct, Mr. Carter. However, they are only proposing to add, help me, where was I? 18 units. 18 units only. That is all, you're all very familiar with the site planning process. There's many, many other regulations that go into a site plan. You do not by right generally get the density that that is allowed by your zoning district or your land use. So they have proposed that it'll only be 18 additional units. I wanted to make these things very clear to this commission as they move forward in their decision-making process. The staff, during their review of, and this is not a site plan review, but their review of the 2021 plan, staff was very concerned with access and traffic. And so that has been, of course, relayed to the applicant, and they are very much aware of it. And that is why in this evening's packet, we did include their traffic analysis for Louisiana and the surrounding corridors that they would impact or be utilizing. As has been stated, this is an existing, this area, in this historic area of the city, has been designated the land use of medium-density residential and RM8 zoning for many, many years. As we all know, this area also has infrastructure available to it. Unfortunately, some of that infrastructure doesn't have the ability to be widened or developed maybe in a fashion that we would want to accommodate this type of new growth. And when I say new growth, if you look at your zoning and land use maps, excuse me, you'll see that this whole area is designated medium density residential, but also commercial general. So it has already been allocated for more higher intensity development, and the roads are small and confined. So that's the reality of the situation. I just want you all to be very aware of that. Regardless of the decision that we make this evening, this area will be developed with the medium density residential allocation as it has been stated this evening by the applicant. Let me go through in your comprehensive plan consistency. These are the A through H. These are the items that you take into consideration when you consider a rezoning of a property. You want to make sure that it is consistent with your comprehensive plan. We have outlined where we feel it is in line with the comprehensive plan or where it may not be. For instance, adequate public facilities, utilities are available on Louisiana. Sewer and water is available. Traffic and access demands on that public facility may exceed the capacity of it or may impact the capacity of it. These are things that we will take into consideration during site planning. The traffic analysis with the 18 additional units is only allocating 180 additional trips. Trips are based on 10 trips a day per unit. So that's how they come up with that. That is the standard that is utilized. The natural environment, we have already addressed that with the client and the applicant. They are very much aware of the protection of the natural habitat that is existing on that property, and it will be addressed. Of course, stormwater is a state permitted function, and it will be addressed again during site planning. We feel that it is compatible with the land use and in conformance with the ordinances, and it is providing orderly development as is existing in this area. So with that, our conclusion is that the requested rezoning from RM8 to RM10 is consistent with the zoning map and zoning code, and that this Planning and Zoning Commission is required to make a recommendation to the city as part of this request. And so your motion this evening should state that it is a recommendation to the city council. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Questions from the commissioners for the applicant and staff? We'll start with Mr. Carter.
Yes, I have a question for the applicant, please. In all your planning, you need to come back up to the microphone. In your planning for the project and the ultimate development, if it happens, what is the price point that you're looking to achieve for your units?
That's not really a question I can answer at this time, and we have with us the engineer and myself as the attorney. I do not have the information on what the units are going to be sold for.
Well, I find that a little bit ironic that we're doing all of this and we have no idea what we're going to be doing when everything is said and done.
Well, at this phase, we're just looking for the zoning
I
change.
understand that.
So to go into the pricing of the units at this time would be, I don't want to say irrelevant because that's not the word I'm trying to use, but it is unrelated to whether or not we meet the requirements of the city to change the zoning.
And I
Okay.
can clarify too, though, again, not with the pricing, but the site plan application that was submitted is for an apartment building. So these are not going to be townhouses.
I understand
or
that.
conveying, they were just rental units.
I'll just leave it at that. I find that was very evasive, but thank you.
Anything else while I'm up here?
Does yes, Ms. Battles?
So I had a question about the COVID factor of 1.1 and how that was determined on the traffic study. It might be something the engineer might.
He's not. He'd be better adept at answering this question. I would. Do you want to take this, Sean?
Good evening, everyone. Sean Green, I'm the engineer of record for the applicant. Could you repeat your question for me, please?
Yeah, so my question was just in reviewing the traffic study. I saw that the traffic counts were taken in the summer of 2020, and there was a COVID factor of 1.1 applied to the traffic. And I wanted to understand how that was calculated, or what is the background for applying the 1.1 factor as opposed to a higher factor.
Yeah, I did not prepare the traffic study, and I want to be careful about speculating as to why that was used. I can certainly find out the answer, but I don't know why it was. I can tell you that from my familiarity with the report, that traffic counts were projected out to 2024 using projections and numbers that are standard throughout Indian River County. But as far as why the COVID factor was what it was, I can find out, but I don't know the answer to that question.
And the reason I was asking is just because I find it, I think, a little bit low. And so that obviously plays into the results of the report. So, yeah, that's it.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
I got a question. This might be for staff as well. So I understand that this is only for zoning. Is there conditional zoning with this, or it is only zoning?
No, zoning cannot be, we cannot approve conditional zoning. However, You can, you know, in your approval or denial of a rezoning request, you certainly can list your, what's the word I'm looking for, Dory?
Recommendations to council.
Your recommendations, concerns, that was the word I was looking for, sorry. Concerns to council regarding whether, you know, you approve or deny that particular rezoning request. But we cannot put conditions on a rezoning, like a site plan approval.
Yeah, and that was part of my question, because I'm concerned about the MOT of this area. And if, with the turn lanes, or are they, I understand you're saying we have limitations, but there's got to be some kind of additional infrastructure that can be implemented, and that would be, just MOT is my biggest concern for this tight of an area. And it really doesn't matter RM8 or RM10, but I think we need to address it at some point. That was my
Absolutely, and that can be part of a motion. In your motion, you can state that these are our concerns in regard to whatever, again, recommendation you provide to city council.
Gotcha, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Sherry?
I would just like a clarification. I know that you said 18, but however, in the writing, says 16 units each per building, and then it's 157 units. However, the property owner has stated the requested change in zoning designation would only allow one additional building of 16 units. Are we at 16 units per building or 18 units per building?
Miss Williams, or Matthews. You caught my big snafu that I caught today. I do apologize.
Okay.
It is 18 units, ma'am. And
16?
No, 18.
18, okay.
Yes, ma'am. I apologize.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I do have something to address. I understand that we're only talking about changing the zoning rather than what it will look like, how many trees, are there sidewalks, what shape are the buildings, how many units, the price, that none of that enters into a change of zoning. But I do want to make the point that should we recommend the change and pass it on to the council, and the council adopt the change goes with the land, regardless of what might appear there in the future. The change in the zoning is rather than being specific to a site plan, is specific to the land in general. Okay? We all understand that. Okay? No more questions of either staff or, then we will open this to individuals from the floor to address us with their comments or concerns. We will first start with any of those who are in favor of the request who wish to address us. Okay, only the presenter, okay. And we'll start with those who are opposed, and the way to do this is to come to the microphone, state your name very clearly and spell it so that our secretary will be able to record it for the record. It is now open for anyone who is opposed to the change. Please come forward.
My name is Jane Sonia, Janesonia. I am the manager of Grace's Landing, a senior community that has existed along Louisiana for 27 years. We are a 70-unit apartment community, and most of my folks are, well, we have some youngins, but a lot of them are in their 80s. And we have experienced some really difficult traffic situations just based on the growth of Sebastian itself. We only have access to go east or to hit US 1, we have to cross a railroad track either way. So we've got the trains coming into play, and Brightline is going to be doing 32 trains a day. We've got the freight trains. We've got the traffic from our property that's been there forever. We've got the growth of this whole area. Louisiana Ave is a very narrow road, and it has a bend. And in the site plan that I saw, Should I shrink? Okay. So for the area where I looked at the site plan, it looks like the access for this property, and let me say first, we do need housing in Sebastian, no question. Additional housing in that specific area, I think, would cause a hardship for the people that already live there. There is a blind spot where it seems to be that they were putting their access to Louisiana. I drive that road every day, 5, 6, 7 times a day. There has been many times that as I'm hitting that curve, the mail truck is there, and I don't see him until I'm right there. Now, I know to go 15, 20 miles an hour down that road. I agree we need housing in Sebastian, no question about that, but I would like to oppose any additional zoning to allow, as you said, the land to be able to carry more housing in the future if this doesn't even go through. In the future, it could be 156 units. So that is my argument. It's a traffic situation. Even though we need housing, I think our growth should not be higher than what we can sustain, which this is going to be difficult enough. And that's all.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good evening. My name is Diana McNamara, and I live at 1037 Foster Road. I have come to the office here to discuss this, and I have found out that there's a possibility that there might be allowed an emergency exit onto Foster Road. Foster Road is a private road. City of Sebastian maintained it a couple times for potholes, but they say they do not own the road, and I do not feel that an emergency exit from this Sebastian Oaks should be allowed on a private road. City of Sebastian doesn't help us in maintaining our road. Foster Road was once a dirt road. I grew up on Palmetto Avenue many years ago, and I don't feel that in the heart of town, we should allow a project like this. It's way too much for Louisiana Avenue. Like she said, there is too much traffic on it at this time, and allowing more access to Louisiana is going to cause a lot of problems. And when you said the surrounding corridor being Foster Road is one of the catch-alls, I would like you to take that into consideration, because I don't want to see our road, private road, as the catch-all for this property. 8 units would be great. I understand that Dennis is wanting to do something back there, and I understand it, and I'm along with it, but my property will abut his property. My concern is the aqua filter, because right now, all of us on Foster have wells. So if he goes and he turns 3/4, I don't know what his ratio is, into asphalt, covers the soil, I'm worried about the aqua filter for our wells, because all of us have them back there. We don't have city water. We don't have city septic. So our septics are connected with all this property. And another thing is the wildlife back there is just phenomenal. We have so much going on back there. Being born and raised on Palmetto, and my sibling owning on Foster, and I'm now on Foster, we have traveled those woods many, many times. There is so much wildlife back there, and right now it's a turtle haven. And we have foxes and bobcats and squirrels, and I hate to see anything done to it, because we don't have much land left. And being right in the heart of town, I really don't know if that's what our city of Sebastian needs. But I understand there will be change. So I do oppose this acquisition only because if it was reduced and it was smaller and we had single-family homes, that would be great. And my question is the owner of the property going to 10 units so that he can cover the cost of construction? Because when Dennis started this years ago, it wasn't this crazy boom. And I can understand that 10 units would help him financially to build what he wants to build. But I just don't think it's the right setting. But I do oppose it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Rob Gribrook. I live at 1041 Foster Road in Sebastian.
Excuse me, what was your last name?
It's spelled Gribroek.
Thank you.
Should have been anglicized from Holland when they came. The road, everything she said was absolutely correct. And that is, I had a few things that I wanted to bring up, and I'm sorry, I've got allergies. Louisiana Avenue, where they're coming in from 160 units, and it's very disingenuous to have a study done during COVID, for God's sakes. The traffic on Louisiana is exponentially tripled in the last few years. In US 1 and Main Street in Louisiana is a ticking time bomb disaster. Now, if you put 1,000 cars driving on that, taking that left onto Louisiana, over the railroad tracks, and it doesn't matter if you put your lights on, people will pull right up on those tracks, and you have 32 high-speed trains coming through there on top of the other trains. This isn't sustainable. I mean, that's not going to work. There are poor people that have, I just got my insurance dumped, and we were at the Allstate office there, and that poor girl in the corner office, they're slamming on the brakes daily, day in, day out, accidents in there. Wait till that's stopped. That right lane going south and taking a right onto Main Street is going to be dead halt, because one person taking a left onto Louisiana is going to stop everything from going west on Main Street. One car will stop it. And you're going to have 1,000 more. And then, if you think about the Amazon, UPS, all the other ones, on top of Uber Eats and everything else that's going to come in with 160 units, you're talking a living nightmare. And Louisiana, where she said, is a dead blind spot. If someone's coming up there, and cars love to take that power turn, you have no idea how many times I've been pushed off to the side. Everyone has. We have to deal with that. And obviously, the other thing that I have to say is the aquifer is a big thing for us because we're not the anointed ones that get to have county water. We don't get it. We can't have it. We've tried. If they clear cut and put asphalt and buildings and everything across all of my backyard, and I have 16 people staring at me from a unit in different apartments right in my backyard, where's the water going to drain to fill up my well? You know, I mean, what do I do? Just put out buckets and hope for rain? We had 2 months last year where it didn't rain. We're starting to get brackish water now. I can't even imagine what it's going to be like when there's no more water being filtered into the aquifer or into the shallow wells, in our case. And I just think it's a complete and utter disaster in all regards. And I actually sold 5 acres to the developer with my sister in the back end of Louisiana, or back end of Foster, because they'd raised the taxes on us so high, we just had to sell it. So in the 5 acres in the back, when they went to our broker, Ralph Santoro from Barillo & Barillo, asked them what we could sell it for, because it was zoned for 40 units, because it was 5 acres and MR8. He said he went to planning and zoning, and they told him that the best we could hope for is 2 duplexes, maybe, and that was because we don't have a road, and whoever developed would have to build a road. Well, okay, there's no infrastructure. We sold it for basically what 2 duplex lots are worth, okay? Bottom line, we don't have the money to go to City Hall and fight it. I mean, really. But the thing is the infrastructure wasn't there, and I understand it. This is in a case where that infrastructure is not there. You would have to do eminent domain on the thrift store, move Louisiana over to the west, put in a light. You'd have to do something to make that viable, because this is not sustainable, absolutely not sustainable at all. And it's almost to the point where it's not sustainable now. People driving on Indian River Drive are blocked off all the time now at Main Street because Main Street is blocked because there's railroad track cars coming. So you have ingress and egress north and south on Indian River Drive stopped already. Just imagine what it's going to be like. That's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, we don't do that. We don't boo, we don't applaud. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Ira Downs. I live at 1045 Foster Road here in Sebastian. I'm a transplant. I've been there about 8 years. I moved there for one reason: privacy and safety.
Excuse me, sir,
Could you?
Closer to your mouth, the microphone.
Can
you just bring it closer to your mouth?
Over there? Okay.
Yep.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Thank you.
A little bit of confusion. The first letter sent out for April meeting claimed for 10 units. You revised that letter for today's meeting and changed it from RM8 to RM10s. What was the confusion? The first meeting was for 10 units. On your letter you sent out.
We don't answer.
Okay?
You state your facts and then.
Okay, so that's confusing to me, but here, my problem is the impact cost to my residents. You hear me? The devaluation of my property, access in and out of Louisiana Avenue, traffic of 150 units. You say it's 180 now? Is that correct? How many? 144. I got 150 down here. That's 300 cars a day, 2 people living there. If I got one child, that's 300 people, 400 people in and out of there. Access to Louisiana Avenue, with it's only 0.3 of a mile from Main Street to 512, okay? Plus you got Brightline coming through here with 32 flights, 32 runs a day at 110 miles an hour. You're going to have 100 kids that drop out there on the school road twice a day in front of them, getting out of that 0.3 of a mile, plus all the other traffic, no access, emergency situations. People like me, and I'm a little bit old. I need an emergency case pretty quick. 90% of the people on that road are retired, and they need access to get in and out. With all that traffic, no way in the world you're going to dump that many people out working, right? Safety for approximately 100 kids bust out up there. The other thing I got is stormwater runoff, sewage, potable water. We've already addressed that. Well water, what happens to my well? They got to build this land up 2 feet above my property line. I'll back right up to their property line. They got to build that up 2 feet above my property line. They're going to dump all that water on me. I got to do something with it. Okay? The privacy is most important. The woods versus a barrier boxes me in. If I got to close up my backyard to close it up, it cuts off the airflow, heats my power bill up, costs me more money to run my electricity. The woods offer security, more people. When you get more people, you got more crime. Every day, you pick up the news media, somebody killed somebody. You put 150 people in there, somebody gonna die. High-rise buildings versus wooded areas for storms. Those trees offer a tremendous amount of windbreak from storms that we have here. So that puts pressure on you. You take those high-rise buildings, all you're gonna get from that is gonna be building material stored all over the place. okay?
Sir, you have 1 minute left.
The stormwater is as my understanding, this site will have to be raised about 2 feet. I already addressed that problem. Sewage is a problem, back up over the flow, odor, and et cetera. You got all kind of problems with that. The garbage, you got the disposal plant up there, dropped all that out. It can be bugs and mosquitoes and everything else piling in there constantly with 140-something people. Let's multiply that 3 times, so that's how many people you got. Then you got the other question I need you to answer me is backyard contractors, repair boats, cars, and trailers, et cetera. People working in the yard. In that apartment complex, repairing the equipment. It's all over the city. You have any restrictions against that?
Sir, thank you very much, but your 5 minutes has expired.
Well, I ain't even started. I got a whole 3 pages here.
Well, we only allow 5
Let
minutes.
me ask you one more question, and I'll leave it to somebody else. Dust,
Sir, excuse me?
odor,
Sir,
commerce.
we only allow 5 minutes.
Give me 1 second.
Each person here, 5 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you.
And what am I here for then?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next speaker,
Let me
please.
say one other thing. Your communication system in use.
Next speaker, please.
Hello. My name is Mark Lund. I live at 1053 Louisiana Avenue. And I think the city should buy the property and give him a fair profit and make it a state park or a city park. And keep all the animals, walking trails, bike paths, keep all the trees, the animals. That's my suggestion because they've been buying everything else up. Let's buy something that doesn't hurt the people, but yet he makes some money. That's my recommendation. There's no reason for him to hurt and suffer. He should be able to make a reasonable profit on it and keep it nice. I've been there for 25 years. I love it back there. I love all the animals. I'd hate to see it all gone. But at the same time, I know he works hard and he has a dream, but it ruins a lot of other people's dreams. So I think we should make it a park, and I think the city should buy it.
Thank you.
That's my recommendation.
Thank you. Another speaker?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Beth Taylor, Bethtaylor. I am a resident at Grace's Landing, and I do make multiple trips a day in and out of Grace's Landing onto Louisiana, of course. And I have been sitting alongside the road while the trains are passing by, and I do see the backup of the traffic every day. Coming off of US 1 onto Main Street is a nightmare. It truly is. You are going to find 2 and 3 cars abreast right there as you come off of Main, or off of US 1 onto Main Street. I seriously oppose this change. It just can't happen. It's going to create more problems. Louisiana cannot hold all this traffic. There's no way. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Any other speakers?
Hi, I'm Sheila Benfield. Sheila, S-A-G-I-L-A, Benfield, B as in boy, E-N-F-I-E-L-D. I live at Grace's Landing.
Right into this.
Okay. I live at Grace's Landing also, and the traffic is horrible. When they had the railroad crossings closed, the traffic was backed up constantly trying to get to Main Street. And so adding this much more traffic is just going to be awful. And I agree to do this to the property with the wildlife that we have, that's why we live in Florida, is because of our wildlife and our everything we have. I'm sorry. But I hate to see this done. That's all. Sorry.
Thank you. Any other speakers?
That's going to be hard to follow.
Yeah.
My name is John, Jon, Hagerott, Hagerott. I own multiple houses on Foster. I was born and raised in Sebastian. I played in those woods with my sister, who's also here. But I believe it was Mr. Haddix that you brought up about a turning lane. If you would look at Louisiana, there is nowhere to put a turning lane anywhere on that road. The entrance is right at that curve, which everybody's talked about, but any other development has an area to pull over and get in. The turning in right wouldn't be the problem. It's the people that come from 512 and need to turn left. So they're going to back everybody up the other direction also. Everybody else has stated, about the backup from turning left onto Louisiana. So for me, who lives on the little one-lane road, which is Foster, there's times when sometimes it takes you 3 or 4 minutes to get out on that little road, because I don't know what happens out here, but there's like a big wave of people. It's almost like you guys have a light out here somewhere, and I know you don't, but there's like a big wave of people that go, and it's the same thing that happens on our road. With the study being done during COVID, I don't think that's realistic, because if you look at the population of what Sebastian was during that COVID time, and I don't know how many people were in Sebastian or what it was, but I will guarantee you, if you look at the population today, by looking at US 1, there is a lot more people in Sebastian. We have grown like crazy. You go out in the Highlands and it's difficult to find a vacant lot. There's, houses all over. So I think that the traffic study sounds good with the numbers. I don't think they're realistic. I think that at the very least, they need to look at doing a study during the winter months, especially when everybody is here, and see what it would be. Because I guarantee you it's a lot more than what they're looking at. People didn't mention about the school buses. When the school bus goes down through there, and I have a dually that I drive, you have to really move over to keep from the school bus mirrors hitting the mirrors on the dually. So if any truck of any size goes down that road, there's going to be a problem. So when you got 144 units in there, how many people are going to order Amazon? How many UPS trucks are going to be in there? And they may have included all that in the traffic study. I didn't see the study, and I don't know that we had access to see it. But I think that you need to really look at the fact that you can't put any turn lanes on that road anywhere. And if you can, great. And I know at some point somebody is going to build something out there, and it may be, these guys that do it. But if you give that higher number, like I believe it was you brought up, that it goes with that property. So the next person comes along. So, if you get the zoning up, you'd almost be better off to sell it with that higher zoning, because the next guy doesn't have to do that fight. And then they're going to do whatever they want to do, and they won't do 144 units. They'll do the max number of units. So I think that needs to be considered in your decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers?
Good evening. My name's Luther Fitch, F-I-T-C-H. This one right here?
No, use the other mic, this way, sir.
Oh,
There
sorry.
you go.
This one. My name's Luther, L-U-T-H-E-R. Fitch, F-I-T-C-H. And I live at 4 Palmer Drive, and I own the property next to the property that's going to be constructed. I have a question for the engineers. We have a hammock, a natural hammock that runs the length of the property. I'd like to know what they're going to do with that. You going to mow it down?
Or is it gonna stay there? Because that's important to the habitat of that area. And the traffic is gonna be a very big issue, and everything that everybody has stated prior to this. I'm definitely not in compliance with this at all. So that's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Okay. Seeing no other speakers, we will close that portion. If the
I have a
applicant would care to,
I have a hand raised on Zoom.
oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Hello, Linda Rendell, can you hear us?
Yes.
They've joined, but they have not unmuted yet.
Okay.
Oh, you,
Oh,
can you hear me?
yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Did you hear what I said, or should I repeat it?
You'll have to repeat it.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna say, we live on Foster Road as well as the others that, already spoke. And I just want to say that I'm in agreement with what they've already stated. I don't need to restate it, but, I would have said the same things. Hello?
Okay.
Okay, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other Zoom speakers?
No one else has raised their hand.
Thank you. Okay. If the applicant would care to respond to any of the issues raised?
I just want to reiterate for the commissioners that the concerns of the citizens are valid, but they're not appropriate at this stage. These concerns are addressed at the site plan level, and that this is a planning and zoning hearing only about the zoning change. The city staff has not even had a chance to review the traffic study yet. So in order to get approval for this project, we have to hire expert engineers in traffic who prepare these reports to work with the professionals that work at the city. At that time, if the city has concerns, which they will, about the traffic and the widening of the roads and the turn lanes and in blind corners, these are very valid concerns, but that is the appropriate time to address those. So once the staff provides the applicant with the comments, we will certainly work with the city as he always has, as we always have, to make sure that these are addressed at the appropriate time. But all of the concerns tonight are unrelated to the zoning change.
Thank you, sir. Would the staff like to summarize, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I would like to thank everyone who came up this evening to express their concerns. I do want to share that, once again, this property is zoned and land used appropriately for multifamily development. The request is to increase the density from 8 units per acre to 10 units per acre. Traffic is an appropriate concern or consideration when you are looking at increasing density on a property. Staff has reviewed the traffic analysis. It shows that there will be, that the roadway of Louisiana can support this additional traffic. However, the road is very narrow and has very limited area to improve it. And those are considerations that we have and would address during site planning process. However, the consideration of traffic at this point is appropriate when you're considering a rezoning to a higher density. I just wanted to make sure that you were all aware of that, and that is why you had the traffic study in your packet. I think that is all that we want to share at this time, and we thank you for your time if you have any questions for us.
Okay, thank you. It is time now for the commissioners deliberation and final questions, and we'll start on this end this time.
Question for you, Lisa. Some of the residents had mentioned an emergency exit on Foster. Is that in discussions with them having more than 100 units and the requirement from the county fire marshal to have a second access for fire and emergency vehicles? Is that what that is referencing, or is it something else?
No, you are correct, that they need to have an emergency access, and we have had our fire official look at Foster, and it would be adequate enough for an emergency access.
Is that not something you would need the approval of that private owner to do?
The neighborhood, it is a private road that doesn't really have an ownership except for the landowners around it, and they would have to be considered. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are we just doing questions, or are we also giving are we just doing questions at this point, or are we also discussing concerns
No, you can do
amongst
everything.
us?
You can do it all
Okay.
at once.
So my concerns while reviewing the traffic study are that, kind of consistent with what the residents have said, a peak season factor of 1.11 is typical during a normal year, but being that it's COVID, I don't think that that was appropriate. And it would be great to have the traffic engineer here to talk to about the COVID factor as well. But my concerns is I think that some of those factors were low, and I think that a new traffic study should be is warranted. These are really old counts, and I think that the factors used were really low. And so those are my concerns. I think that they should definitely be required to do a new traffic study.
Okay, Sherry?
I too have some concerns on this increase with the number of units and the possibilities of development and the conflicts and the infrastructures and not being able to redevelop as we go. And I think with all of the concerns, and with this, that I think that a traffic study should be done before a decision would even be made in something like this. I don't see that area being able to handle this type of increase in structure and volume. There's a lot of things that you're adding here, a lot of in and out with the volume of 2, 3, 4 people, whatever's coming into these units. And I think that the increase, I don't see Louisiana handling that type of load.
Okay. Is that it? Okay, I'll take my turn now. I have a question for the two of you and perhaps others regarding traffic study. Are you indicating you think a traffic study should be made prior to granting or recommending a change from R8 to R10, or are you saying a traffic study should be made at the time they're doing the site plan for whatever it is will eventually be built there? Because at this point in time, we have no idea. Literally, somebody has an idea, but we have no knowledge of what will be there. We are only talking about the zoning. So should we recommend the traffic study be done prior to adding 2 more units per acre? Or are you talking about having it done at the time of the site plan?
I mean, I would like to see either updated counts or appropriate factors used in the study that we see before we approve rezoning additional units. I mean, that would be my preference. I know it's obviously going to come back before us during site plan, but, and, you know, they're going to need to have an updated study. But I don't know what our options are there.
Okay, I just wanted to know what you're thinking. Sherry?
And I also would like to see it done before we increase. I'm concerned about the infrastructure, I'm concerned about the increase of traffic, and I'd like to see it done before we even vote on increasing.
Okay. I don't have any further questions myself, but I might have if you guys come up with something that I don't understand. Yes.
Well, originally when I reviewed this, I thought, God, we really do need affordable housing here. We hear people crying so much about rents or purchasing. But hearing, and I don't drive Louisiana often, almost rarely, but I am one of those cars that got stuck on the railroad track when I thought the cars were going to be going straight and someone decided to make a left and couldn't because the cars were backed up going eastbound, and I started to panic. Where do I go? So I understand the traffic concerns close to home. I personally don't think it needs to be increased to the R10. It's RMA, that's what it is, and they were willing to build on RMA. Yes, I understand an RM10 district was created, but I personally don't think Louisiana is a great street to do it on, and that's personal opinion. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Frazier, I'm looking at the staff report, and item 7, your conclusion, says that RM8 to RM10 is consistent with the zoning map and the zoning code. So are you suggesting that we recommend to City Council that this be approved?
No, ma'am, I would never take that type of liberty. You know, all I am stating is that the request is in line with the zoning map and the zoning code. The request is, and I apologize if that was not clear, but the requested rezoning in that area is in compliance with the zoning code and the zoning map. It is your job to make sure that it is in compliance with and consistent with the comprehensive plan.
Okay, well, I also have a concern about the traffic on Main Street. However, there is an additional entrance to Louisiana off of 512. Most of the people who come down Main Street usually have to go that way because they live in the Highlands, and they think it's shorter to go that way. However, they could turn around and go an extra block and come up 512 and go to the Highlands that way. So I'm concerned that all these people just decide to take a shortcut to get home down Louisiana Avenue. I've been down that road, and it is very small. I had friends who lived on Louisiana Avenue that I would visit, and I didn't want to go that way if I was coming down US 1. I always used to take the extra block and go around 512 for that very simple reason of the railroad tracks stopping traffic and holding up everyone. So I don't see a point in raising the density at this point in time for this area. I understand that the applicant wants to have additional homes. Everyone wants to increase the density on their property when they can, but this street in particular backs up to a private road, which I've been Don Foster Road when I worked for the city for over 30 years, and it is a very small, skinny road. Worse than Louisiana Avenue. So I wouldn't even want to see an emergency exit on that road, whether the property owners on that street approved it or not. So in my opinion, I don't see a change to the density at this point in time. Mr. Carter, I turn it to you.
I have no more questions other than what I discussed earlier. I think we're ready for a motion.
Okay, I just have one
Oh,
more,
sorry.
because I reserved a little comeback. I too have concerns about traffic, and I feel that regardless of what gets built on that land, and something surely will be, I think we're going to be wanting to have an up-to-date traffic study that incorporates not just, this traffic study mentions bright light, of course, but it doesn't mention the darn freight trains. And there's one at 5:18 every day that holds up traffic for anywhere from 5 to 7 minutes. And I have been both trapped on the tracks, and I have been trapped on US 1 with the whole of Main Street filled up with more cars than fit in the lanes. So I think that a traffic study is something that we're going to see in the future regardless of any kind of building and regardless of even the current zoning, and that's just my comment. So traffic is a concern for all of us.
Question to staff and Chair. Are we able to table to get an updated traffic study to then come back and review before we make a vote? Is that?
I'm sorry? I don't quite understand the question.
So are we able to table this to then come back to it once we get an updated traffic study with current traffic counts?
So I think one of the concerns for staff would be a traffic impact unupdated may take 3-4 months. And how do we timely process this application? And would you want it before you made a decision, or do you need it for city council? And that may be something for Mr. May, if we can.
Yes,
require
Mr.
that.
May, do you have any my recommendation would be to make a motion to move this to city council, and if in your concerns, in your recommendation, to state that you strongly believe that a new traffic study needs to be conducted, then that is a valid concern. But I'm not sure, I wouldn't recommend that, but that is not my recommendation to make. Mr. May, do you have any words that you could help the Planning and Zoning Commission?
Yeah, so the Planning and Zoning Commission, your duty is to either recommend approval or denial of the application based on the evidence and the record that you have before you. Certainly, you could continue this to a date certain. It'd have to be re-advertised, and it would likely cause the applicant a hardship in the amount of time it would take. But you could continue it to a date certain in the future to get more information. However, the applicant could say, I'm not willing to do that, or the applicant may agree to do that. It has been pointed out that in the future, if you do decide to do a denial or approval recommendation, that you could, in your motion, indicate that you would prefer that the applicant bring forth an updated traffic study for the next hearing or the site plan. It can't be a condition, but it could be a recommendation that based on your concerns.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, Lisa, whichever way this goes, whether we say change it to RM10 or leave it at RM8, they do have to bring an updated traffic study at site plan, or this is it?
No, ma'am. If whichever way it goes, we can make that request. Yes, ma'am, because we would follow your concerns. And
Okay.
I'm sure the city council would listen to those concerns also.
Just clarification.
Yes, sir.
No matter what happens on the zoning, at site plan, they would still need to have an updated traffic study, is that right?
Yes, sir. That
thank you.
is our contention.
Okay, I think that we've pretty much mastered this, so I will call for a motion, please.
Madam Chairman, I'll make a motion that we do not recommend to City Council changing the zoning from RM8 to RM10.
Okay, second? Do I hear a second?
Can we add our concerns that we are concerned about the MOT?
If the,
As,
if the
you said that
motion
earlier?
maker wishes to add it?
Would you consider adding that? Regardless, it's a denial, I understand that, but, okay. I'll second his motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Kinchin,
Yes.
Ms. Battles,
No.
Ms. Cottenberg,
Okay, I want to make sure I understand the motion. The motion is to deny
Not
recommendation, correct?
yes.
Okay. I vote yes.
Ms. Matthews,
Yes.
Mr. Haddix,
Yes.
Ms. LaRusso,
Yes.
and Mr. Carter.
Yes.
We have 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, yes and 1 no. So the motion carries.
Okay. Thank you. The next item on our agenda, we're going to close this now and move on.
Chairman, I just wanted to, we have tentatively scheduled the first reading of the ordinance for city council on, or the ordinance on May 24th resolution.
I
If
can't
you
hear
received
you,
a letter
dear.
for this meeting, you will also receive a letter for that city council hearing also.
Okay. Okay. The next item on our agenda is unfinished business, and we have no unfinished business, so the following item is public input. Public input on items other than what appear on the agenda. Anybody here want to talk about anything other than what was on the agenda? No. No new business?
I have one individual with their hand raised.
Okay. Thank you.
Hello, Mr. McGinn, can you hear us? Mr. McGinn, can you hear us?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I don't know if this is appropriate, but I would like to input to the Planning and Zoning Commission the fact that there's a piece of property on Indian River Drive that's scheduled to be reviewed for a 96-room hotel. I watched the last zoning request, and I would say that if that goes forward, there will be significant, like hundreds of cars trying to exit either at Crockel's Fruit Stand on Route 1 or Main Street, which will greatly exacerbate the traffic problem. My only reason for bringing this up is to call the attention of the zoning board and anyone else who might be listening that it's crucially important that some people attend the technical review meeting on Wednesday, the 10th, concerning this piece of property, which is 88 yards from the city limit. I've seen the traffic study, and I would think that the traffic study that was performed on that particular application, even though it's the county, should be challenged and done over. For that reason, I'm inputting this because it's going to have a drastic effect on the city and its traffic. I understand that it's not in the city today, but I encourage anybody from the Planning and Zoning Board that can make it to possibly attend that technical review meeting, because you people are very skilled at understanding the 100 questions that are posed to the applicant for this 96-room, 3-story hotel. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And I will just add to that, even though this particular proposal is in the county, so are we. We are part of the county. If you have an opportunity and care about it, go to the meeting, let your feelings be known. Unfortunately, that particular county meeting is scheduled when working people have to work. So, but I encourage you, always make your feelings known. Thank you. Any commissioners' matters to discuss? No? City Attorney, any enlightenment you can share with us?
No, nothing else. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything additional from our staff? That being the case, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.